welcome to the Leaders in Housing Counseling call. Glad to have you. We're going to have a good, solid conversation today, and we're looking forward to doing a deep dive on some of the critical issues around affordable housing that we've been talking about, and we should be able to move forward on some valuable conversations. I'm going to start out with a quick overview of where we're standing on our work in Congress to try to get the HUD housing counseling funding to be raised to $65 million. Have Melody bring us up to date. A lot of the excellent work that's getting done there. Many thanks to much of what you're doing out there in the field. We're going to spend most of the call on manufactured housing and about an area where there's real possibilities about both producing quality product that's much different than what I think we often think about when we think about manufactured housing, and that it's will be a part of the solution in terms of affordable housing, and some excellent work that Next Step is doing. And we'll also have our friend Doug Ryan from Prosperity Now, and then and some time for question and answer, and we'll do a quick NHRC membership plug, and then talk a little bit about the call next on the 18th. So with that quick note, Melody.
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you everyone for joining us today. This has been a very busy and hectic fiscal year appropriations season, given the shutdown, but we here at NHRC have been working really, really hard on ensuring that housing counseling is not forgotten in the House and the Senate. Thank you everyone who signed on to our national sign-on letter, as well as the state letters for delegation. We sent those out last week, and we've gotten a lot of interest in both chambers, more so in the House than the Senate. We're currently working on increasing our outreach in the Senate, but we've had lots of different offices across the country tell us that they support housing counseling. They want to learn more about housing counseling. And they're going to sign on to, one, their appropriations request that they're going to send to the House Appropriations Committee, and also just sign on to the different Dear Colleague letters that are being circulated in the House and Senate. In the House, Representative Kildee, the Democrat from Michigan, is circulating his Dear Colleague. He's had more than 50 signatories so far, which is really exciting, and I imagine that that's going to increase by the end of today. And in the Senate is Senator Menendez, a Democrat from New Jersey, and his office has more than 10 senators that have signed on. We absolutely ask everyone on the call, any of your partner organizations, to reach out to your congressional delegation today. Today is the internal deadline in the House and Senate for appropriations requests to the appropriations committees. Please reach out to your senator, your representative, asking them to support housing counseling, their appropriations request, or to send on to a Dear Colleague letter. If you have any questions about that, or if you need any contacts from the House or Senate, please reach out to me after the call. I'm happy to send you the email address or phone number of any member of Congress that you want to reach out to. And in terms of the traction we're getting in both chambers, if you're interested in having a conference call with your any member of your congressional delegation, or if you just want to help us with outreach, if you know partner organizations that have a lot of great case studies or data about housing counseling in your state, please reach out to me after the call. I'm happy to coordinate those conversations with your member of Congress. But we're really getting a lot of traction. There seems to be interest in learning more about the program, specifically in their states. We're really looking for state level data. But again, today is the deadline for appropriations requests. So please reach out to your members of your congressional delegation, or reach out to me if you need assistance with that. And I'll turn it back over.
Great. No, I think it's excellent. And people have been doing a lot of work. Thank you for everybody in the field who's been working with Melody. We've had some excellent calls. We had a call this week with the Senator Crane from North Dakota, and the groups rallied on literally just a couple hours notice to do it. So all of this is really valuable. As Melody said, it's the deadline for the members to tell the THUD subcommittee on appropriations what their priorities are. So if there's any last minute thing you can do to get them to include housing counseling on the list, I think you've gotten several emails from us about it. and having them sign onto the sign-on letters. That'd be great.
And this is
Excellent.
Melody.
Yeah, sure.
Just to jump in a bit, just because today is the deadline for appropriations requests does not mean that our effort will stop. The most effective advocacy is a consistent, unified message on any program. So reaching out to me, having the different calls with members of Congress, having in-district meetings, providing them with data on housing counseling in in their district or in their state is always relevant, and it's always helpful to the work that we're doing with Congress. And it just makes them always keep housing counseling in the forefront of their minds and in their policy agendas. So today is the deadline. Please reach out to them, but don't have today be the personal deadline for trying to advocate with your members of Congress.
Yeah, and we'll do some work on this as well, but any chance you've got when they're back in district to do meetings where housing counseling comes up is really going to be valuable all year long. Terrific. Good. Well, with that note, I'm going to hand the conversation over to Ellie Pepper, who's been working with on this question about manufactured housing and affordable housing and housing counseling. Ellie?
Thanks, Bruce. Hi, everybody. So as Bruce mentioned earlier, we're going to spend some time today talking about manufactured housing. We're going to debunk some myths. We're going to take a look at what today's manufactured housing really looks like, because it's not the manufactured housing of, 30 years ago, even 20 years ago. So our presenters today are Stacey Epperson. She's the president and founder of Next Step, and Stacey will be talking about the myths and facts in the industry. Also from Next Step, we have Shelley Trent. She's the training coordinator who will tell us about a pilot program and brief us on some exciting news. And then we have Doug Ryan. He's the senior director of affordable homeownership at Prosperity Now, and he'll review what's happening in the current manufactured housing market. And with that, we'll get started with Stacey Epperson, and I'll let her take it away.
Stacey, I'm turning over controls to you.
Okay, thank you, Ellie. So hello, everyone. Again, my name is Stacey Epperson, and I'm the president and founder of the Next Step Network. It's a pleasure to be speaking to the National Housing Resource Center members who support homebuyer education and counseling across the nation. We want to thank Bruce and Ellie for giving us this opportunity to share how factory-built homes are an important part of our affordable housing stock. It's also a growth strategy for increasing this stock. But first today, we really want to take some time to maybe change some minds, debunk some myths and some outdated stereotypes. And first, let me share just a little bit more about our organization. Next Step Network is a relatively young national nonprofit. We were created in 2011, and our mission is to put sustainable homeownership within reach of everyone, while transforming the manufactured housing industry through consumer education, energy efficiency, and affordability. So education is in our mission statement, and so we know we're talking to the right people today. We believe a home is a home, and that factory built is a process, not a product. And with our 400 plus partners, we're working to help more families own their own homes. We believe increased access to homeownership creates wealth building opportunities, builds stability and a greater sense of responsibility, and contributes to vibrant communities across our country. Our network has generated impact, and we've pushed our mission forward, and we have supported over 3,200 new Energy Star homes that saves home buyers over $900,000 in energy costs each year. Okay, so let's talk about manufactured housing done right. Well, first, it's our trademark, but it's also our mantra. In summary, we believe this is the special recipe for sustainable homeownership. I hope counselors are happy to hear that the first thing we advocate for is to prepare and support home buyers. We require our homes to be Energy Star. That saves homeowners 30% on their energy costs. And we advocate placing these homes on permanent foundations to qualify for conventional mortgage financing. We care about the reduced total cost of ownership, and that helps families understand everything they need to know when buying, operating, and maintaining their home, and that's our definition for affordability. We work to expand access to good loans that puts the family on the right foundation for success. And finally, our A Home is a Home policy commitment advocates for homeowners' rights and the removal of the unfair stigma. So let's talk about stigma. Well, first, we replaced this outdated home with our founding partner, Frontier Housing, a leader in our counseling program today. You may have an outdated impression of homes built in factories, kind of based on pictures like this or what you may have seen before. But today, we'll give you the facts. This is home to about 22 million Americans. It can be mass-produced quickly and efficiently. When I say this is home to 22 Americans, I don't mean pictures like this. We're going to see more exciting pictures today and how homes are being built. It's an affordable housing option that can alleviate an inventory challenge we're facing today. There is this myth out there that these homes are poorly constructed and unsafe, and I would say that is untrue definitely today. So today's homes. Today's homes are attractive. These homes that you're looking at are about 15 years old, but they do have modern features, they're energy efficient, and they have high quality design options. You can have custom home features comparable and also exceed entry-level site-built homes at a lower cost. You can also purchase homes that are certified as Energy Star or exceed those standards with solar options. And you can also get homes that are net zero, meaning they have near zero energy costs. And we are providing some of these net zero homes, and we're demonstrating those today in New York, New Jersey, and California. Today's homes appreciate in value. In fact, in 2018, the Urban Institute reported that there is new evidence showing manufactured homes appreciate as well as site-built homes based on the GSE data through the Federal Housing Finance Agency's new Manufactured Housing Index. So that's good news for what we do. Today's homes can also take advantage of conventional financing. Both Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are active in this market and are expanding their presence. And of course, the FHA and USDA provide mortgages. So let's go a little bit deeper in our learning about the types of homes built in factories so we're all experts and know the lingo. First of all, we're not building mobile homes anymore. We have not built a mobile home since 1976. So you've probably heard this term mobile home. It's all about the date, and they were built prior to June 15, 1976. The idea that homes are mobile is a myth because over 90% of all manufactured homes never move after placement. There are about 2 million older pre-1976 mobile homes in service today. They are generally occupied by our lowest income families with the least resources to make changes in their homes. We know these homes are very costly to heat and maintain. Now let's talk about manufactured housing. They are not mobile homes. They are built to meet or exceed the Manufactured Home Construction and Safety Standards Act of 1974, also known as the HUD Code Home. HUD enforces the quality standards for all these homes. These homes are secured on a permanent, non-removable steel frame chassis and can be titled as real property or personal property. Because these homes are built to a single performance-based code, cost savings are realized over modular and site-built homes. Financing for these homes can be tricky because lenders have an outdated understanding of the process. But we're working with our lending partners to expand training and access to more loan products. Also built in a factory is a modular home. Sometimes you hear these terms used interchangeably, so this is one of the things that I hope you take away today is really understanding the different types of homes that are built in factories. Modular homes are built to local and state codes and are not built on a steel frame chassis. They're transported on site and craned into place. Because these homes are built to various local codes, they can be more expensive compared to manufactured homes because they don't realize the same scale of efficiency of having a single code. These homes are on par with manufactured homes and often built side by side, same material, same labor in the same factory. In fact, at Next Step, our manufacturing partners build both manufactured and modular homes. And we can take the same plan and build it to either code, but the modular home will cost about $5,000 to $10,000 more. Modular homes are financed the same as site-built homes. Well, we have to talk about tiny homes because everybody's talking about tiny homes. They are all the rage given HGTV's hit show. But realize they account for less than 1% of all homes produced. However, for a new generation, factory building has become cool. Tiny homes are neither a manufactured or a mobile home. They are typically sized between 100 square feet and 400 square feet. They must be built to the DMV's recreational vehicle codes or RV codes and pass a licensing inspection. Tiny homes may be on wheels, but it's not a requirement. The RV code does not allow for full-time living. So as you see these tiny homes on HGTV, just remember they're not for full-time living. The photo is actually a Next Step micro home built by Clayton Homes and developed by Affordable Housing Resources, our developer partner in Nashville. This micro home is a 450 square foot modular home, and it is built to the local code. So let's explore, how do we get more affordable homes in our communities today? Does this work in urban, suburban, and what are some of the challenges that we face? Think about your own city and community. Are there vacant lots? The Brookings Institute conducted a survey of 70 cities, and they reported up to 15% vacant land. Next Step and our partners are demonstrating that manufactured housing done right is a good strategy, but it takes education of local officials in zoning that allows for manufactured housing. Putting factory-built homes on infill lots provides an innovative solution for communities looking to have sustainable, affordable housing options. But it really does take some education. There is not in my backyard. We all know that, doing affordable housing. But it's also very prevalent with manufactured housing, and it's a strategy for zoning to keep it out of urban areas. This type of discrimination is illegal in California and Oregon, so please help us spread the word in your local community. We can help you get the facts out for this type of housing. The next slides that we will look at will be a couple of examples where we are providing infill homes on urban lots. In San Bernardino, Neighborhood Partnership for Housing Services is working with the city to help fill the city's 140 vacant lots that are gathering trash and suspect activities in low-income neighborhoods. NPHS is our nonprofit developer partner, and they worked with us to educate local officials, gather the support necessary and endorsement, and also to secure the financing. We help them with the design and specifications and broker the relationship between the developer and the factory and a retail store to build and turnkey the home, so meaning 100% completion on the lot. NPHS provides the homebuyer education, helps source good loans, and sells the homes through their in-house brokerage services. The project is also a Freddie Mac Choice Home Pilot, which demonstrates that homes can be indistinguishable from site-built homes in both curb appeal, high-quality standards, and energy efficiency. These homes have solar panels. They will be financed identical to site-built homes. All these homes are manufactured to the HUD code and were bid at 30% less than site-built homes. So let's go to Florida. In Tampa, or the area, St. Petersburg, our nonprofit development partner is Tampa Bay CDC. They're also undertaking infill development with high-quality modular homes, and they're meeting the city's strict design standards to blend in with the local neighborhood. The nonprofit is working with our factory, which is providing the installation for these homes. They're also providing the homebuyer education to ready the borrowers for home ownership. They undertook this project because they were educating hundreds of homebuyers each year who were reporting no homes to purchase in their pre-qualified price range. So let's talk about a few of the emerging trends we're seeing. On the West Coast, we see zoning to allow for accessible dwelling units, also known as granny pods. When you have a large backyard of a single-family home and there's a back alley access, granny pods or microhomes can provide much-needed affordability and density in urban areas. Additionally, we're thrilled to see new manufacturers enter the business, bringing in new green practices and highly energy efficient and modern design. We're also seeing new investors like Amazon that's investing in new factory building. Then finally, we are hearing from counselors across the country that there are challenges to finding affordable stock for their clients. But we have an exciting new demonstration. I briefly spoke about San Bernardino. We're working with Freddie Mac on a pilot called Choice Home. I know more about this pilot, but I want to stress that Fannie Mae also has a similar program underway, and it is called MH Advantage. The GSEs are working together, well, not working together, but working within the industry to identify a new classification of building standards or next generation of factory homes. So Choice Home is a new type of high-quality, energy-efficient homes that are really comparable to site-built. If you work with Next Step, all our homes meet and exceed these standards. They include features like lower profile foundations, higher pitch roof lines, garages, carports. They get a special sticker in the factory guaranteed built to this high quality level, and that means the buyers of these homes can qualify for better loan products. During the pilot, the homes will be appraised like site-built homes, meaning site-built comparable sales. They'll be financed just like site-built homes with conventional loan products. The loans will be submitted through Loan Product Advisor as detached single-family homes. Our second demonstration site is Danville, Virginia, and that project is getting underway. We hope to expand to 2 additional sites in the next 12 months, and we are looking for urban infill suburban growth markets. So let's discuss challenges we're expecting and how factory-built homes can help fill the void. The cost to rent a manufactured home with land in a land lease community averages about $844 to $935 per month in many parts of the country. That's in line with the monthly housing cost of $852 a month that a full-time worker making the average wage earned by a renter can afford, according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. That number assumes that the worker pays 30% of their income on housing. We know the affordability problem is getting worse. The cost of housing continues to rise faster than wages. The largest and fastest increases in poverty have occurred in medium density areas outside the urban core areas. It's happening in low density areas on the urban fringe and in rural areas, according to the Harvard Joint Center for Housing. As housing costs are rising, in part because of simple supply and demand, single-family residential construction in the past decade has added fewer units to the housing stock than in any 10-year period dating back to 1968. And the outlook for construction labor is that the market is even getting tighter. Just yesterday, the New York Times featured a story on how limiting immigration is reducing the labor pool for construction workers, which leads to higher wages. And we all support higher wages, but understanding it's causing housing costs to increase. So you may be asking, why factory-built housing for my clients? There are clear advantages: faster, cheaper, and can be better if you follow our design recommendations. It's better for all of us. It's greener. It's a better way of building. How many of you have seen this on a construction site? The waste of a Next Step home fits into one trash can. So what's different, and what should counselors pay attention to? Well, let's talk about the homebuyer customer experience. Where do they get started? Well, they start online, but then they go to a retailer. The retailer is where they see a home, select it, and learn about how they want to finance it. There are a limited number of manufactured home lenders, and they may not learn about all their financing options on the lot. So this may be the most important thing we talk about today for counselors. Let's talk chattel. What is it? 80% of manufactured homes are financed with a chattel loan. That's a home-only loan, a personal property loan with a title lien. It carries a shorter term and higher rate. The loans are risk-based, meaning the better the credit, the better the term and rate. Lower the credit means higher the down payment and higher the interest rate. Plus, I see high fees. 65% of those who took chattel loans own their own property. That means they may have been able to take a mortgage. The question is, did they have the information to make an informed decision? That's why we believe counseling is so important. So to learn more about the data and trends in the industry, we have Doug Ryan from Prosperity Now to further educate us. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Stacy, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate Bruce, Ellie, and Melody having me and Next Step here. So I'm Doug Ryan. I'm the Senior Director of Affordable Homeownership at Prosperity Now. We are a nonprofit based in Washington, D.C. that works on asset and wealth building strategies for individuals and communities with a focus on communities of color and other underserved populations. And we run a program called the Innovations in Manufactured Homes, which is the Home Network, and there'll be a little bit of information on at the end of my presentation. So I'm going to talk about the data, the trends that are making up the manufactured housing market today, and kind of how we got here. So there's a bunch of things I'm going to piggyback off of what Stacy said, and I think you'll see it'll be a good setup for what Shelley's going to discuss in the next segment. Okay.
Doug, I gave you controls. You can control your slides.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, so manufactured home ownership in the United States today, and this is from census, so there are some differences in how the numbers that people talk about, but about 18 million Americans live in 8.5 million manufactured and mobile homes across the United States. So that includes homes built before the June 1976 manufactured housing standards were put into place by HUD, as Stacy addressed, as well as the homes built afterwards. And so that's an important distinction, but that number includes both. About 10% of brand new single-family homes or housing starts, for the industry term, are manufactured homes. And that data is from 2018, and it's been about that figure in recent years. I'm going to look a little bit more at that in a future slide. And I apologize, I missed this, but also 6.3% of the U.S. housing stock today is manufactured housing or mobile homes. That's an important figure as well. And of course, it's concentrated in different parts of the country. It's a bigger share of the housing stock in rural America, but as Stacy noted, it exists in suburban, exurban, as well as urban markets. For example, there's a significant number of manufactured housing communities in Portland, Oregon, San Jose, California. There's even one on Staten Island in New York City. Here's some data about the homeowners themselves. The median income of a manufactured homeowner is about $37,000. That is less than half, much less than half of, about half, excuse me, of all homeowners across the United States. As a comparison, about the median income of all Americans is in the low 50s. So manufactured homeowners have lower incomes than homeowners as a rule, as well as Americans in general. And that's an important number to know and understand as we talk about housing solutions for all Americans, including low and moderate income Americans. About 16% of manufactured homeowners are cost burdened, which means they would spend more than 30% of their income on housing costs. But that's pretty similar to what all homeowners face. About 18% of all homeowners are cost burdened. And the other figures that why this is the case is because the monthly housing costs are about half of what they are for all homeowners. So you can see why the cost burdens are similar. But what this also underscores is how important manufactured housing is to this segment of the market. Without manufactured housing, even though it's a relatively small share of the housing market, it's a considerable part of the affordable housing market. Without manufactured housing, you'd have many, many more cost-burdened Americans across the country. And 49% of manufactured homes are affordable across the country, and versus 9% of all housing. And affordable means it's affordable to people at 50% of the area median income. So people who are earning at 50% of the area median income would not spend more than 30% of their income. That's the definition of affordable. And 49% of manufactured homes meet that definition. So that's why it's such an important part of this market. The average cost of a home, absent land, so that's an important comparison, is in the manufactured housing in 2017, it's about $72,000. So that includes single-section homes as well as multi-section homes, typically two-section homes, and bigger. So that's the average cost. Now that's absent land. The comparison for site-built homes is almost $300,000. Again, absent land. And there's some important caveats to that. One is, of course, that there are other costs related to manufactured housing that aren't captured in this number. Transportation is going to differ depending on where the home's going. There'll be some site costs that also vary depending on the foundation type and other issues. But this is an important starting point for the comparison of the cost and the value of manufactured housing. Another reason why manufactured housing is important as an affordable housing resource is, frankly, the size. So when you compare the size and the cost per square foot, you can see why manufactured housing is much less expensive. Today's site-built home built today is over 2,600 square feet. That is so much larger than the homes that had typically been built for single-family housing needs, post-World War II. But that is also quite a bit larger than the typical manufactured home, which is about 1,400 square feet. So again, a smaller home with lower costs means a better value for a low and moderate income home buyer. And as Stacy noted, how many manufactured homeowners and home buyers have loans, and mostly chattel loans. Today, about 31% of manufactured homeowners have a home loan, and there's lots of reasons for that. One is because there are a significant number of cash sales in the market. Two, people often live in manufactured housing longer than they do in other types of homes for various reasons. And three, the less expensive types of homes are often turned over in different ways due to foreclosure, evictions, and things like that, and the transaction may not be captured here as a loan. But nevertheless, that's an important figure as well. About 43% of all manufactured and mobile homes are in 40 to 45,000 manufactured housing communities or mobile home parks, depending on the term. We prefer the term manufactured housing communities, but the general stereotype of mobile home parks, of trailer parks, a term we certainly don't use, and the like is where most manufactured housing is located, and that's not the case. About 43% of homes are located in such communities, but that number is declining. But that's an important thing to understand. Another important thing to understand, and Stacy touched on the 1976 HUD code, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, is that manufactured homes are built and installed to federal guidelines based on the 1974 Act of Congress, implemented by HUD in 1976, and then updated in 1994. There's still an opportunity for some updates to the HUD code as we speak. There's changes that are being discussed on such things as add-ons and carports and things like that, as well as energy efficiency, all of which are very important, and we're keeping an eye on that. But those 2 years are two of the most important years in manufactured housing today. In fact, those also set the marker for quality. The top states for shipments of manufactured housing are Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Alabama, and Michigan. Those top five have been pretty consistent over the past couple of years, but Texas is by far and away the largest place for manufactured housing, for the new shipments of manufactured housing. And that's been the case for many years. But a different way of looking at it are the states that have the highest shares of manufactured housing as its housing stock. And those top states include New Mexico, South Carolina, West Virginia, and Mississippi. And what's interesting, if you look at that, is that those aren't the same states that are getting the most shipments. So that underscores a couple of things. A lot of those communities in those 4 states have older homes, and there are quality issues. There are lots of other issues related to it, but that's something that's important to understand. But for example, South Carolina and New Mexico, about 13% of the housing stock is manufactured or mobile homes. When were mobile and manufactured homes built? So this is from the census, so that's why it's broken up by decades. It's not a perfect marker for the 1976 code, but I think it's useful. So if you look at this, about half of the homes were built between 1980 and 1999, so for those 2 decades, the 1980s and the 1990s, and almost 20% have been built since the year 2000. So about 70% of homes that are on the ground today were certainly built after the HUD code. Now, a number of the ones built in that time period of 1960, 1979, of course, were built after 1976 as well, but this is the best proxy that we have on the national landscape. So that does also underscore that most of these homes that are on the ground that people think of as mobile homes or criticize as on quality or safety issues or appreciation are actually built to the HUD code, and that's an important thing to understand. And then about over a fifth of the homes have been built since the update in 1994. Now I'm going to go into some charts here just to show you where trends are. So this chart is a simple picture of the shipments in the United States on manufactured homes since 1990. You can see that the industry has had its peaks and valleys. Their highlight since the HUD code was in the late 1990s when they shipped in 1999 almost 400,000 manufactured homes. And then the industry collapsed due to malfeasance in the home finance market. There was a significant industry bankruptcies and then a lot of foreclosures and repossessions, and the market collapsed. So a lot of existing homes went onto the market and fewer people bought new homes. And that's why you see the market collapsed after the year 2000. It's kind of a precursor to the larger housing and financial crisis in 2008. And then you can see that the industry continued to, shipments went down until it started to pick up after the most recent financial crisis in 2009, and it slowly reached to about not quite 100,000 units in 2018. And it's expected that number to continue to rise, perhaps slowly, but continue to rise in the 100,000 unit neighborhood. Now, this is an important question as well. Multi-section shipments. Some of the pictures that you saw from Stacy's presentation included multi-section homes, and those are more expensive. Sometimes they fit more aesthetically into a community or to a neighborhood, and they also have wider appeal to different consumer groups. So that's an important thing to consider. But right now, about half of the units shipped in the United States are multi-section, 2-section homes. Typically, there are some 3-section homes, but that's a very small share of the market. And you can see that, again, in the early 2000s, that number got close to 80%, and now it's kind of leveled back down to closer to 50%. And again, that reflects lots of different things, but I think it primarily reflects the need for lower cost housing, and single-section homes meet that better than multi-section homes. Now, this is a chart that needs a little explanation. This shows you the ratio per square foot of building a manufactured home and building a site-built home, excluding the land. So basically, the ratio is becoming smaller as site-built homes become more expensive to build. Manufactured homes are also becoming more expensive to build, but at a slower rate. And that speaks to what Stacy talked about when she mentioned construction. The higher construction costs, the labor shortage, and as well as some other factors are pushing more higher-end, higher-cost homes into the marketplace versus, say, starter homes or homes that might target the first-time home buyer and the like, in order to capture labor costs as well as some other costs that are impacting the industry. And that is making site-built new construction more expensive when compared to manufactured housing. Now, it's also important to note that typically a manufactured home buyer is not also looking at a new site-built home because of the differences in the cost, and they're very different segments of the market. But it is important to understand that if we're trying to solve the affordable housing crisis, manufactured housing has to be a much bigger share because new site-built homes without significant subsidy is not going to do it. And I noted this on the opening slide too, that manufactured housing is about 10% of single-family housing starts, and that's been the case, give or take, in recent years. But as recently as the mid-1990s, it was nearly a quarter of the single-family housing starts, and that is a big deal. And that just shows you what has happened to the industry and how the industry hasn't been able, in my view, to keep pace with the demand for affordable home ownership. That number, that 10%, needs to get up closer to where it was in order to better serve this market. So again, 10% is a significant share, but that's kind of where they've been of late, and we need to see that number go up. Now, this is an important chart, again, for where are new homes sited. Again, we noted earlier that 43% of all homes are in manufactured or mobile home communities. And that's not because of new placements. Only about 30% of new placements, of new shipments, end up in manufactured housing communities. The vast majority end up on private property, either family land or in fee simple transactions, like a traditional mortgage calls for. And that has been the trend for the last couple years. So relatively few new homes end up in communities. The vast majority of them end up on private land. And that also dispels, I think, a myth that people have about manufactured homes. And this is the flip side of that. And Stacy talked about why chattel loans are so prominent. It's in part because the vast majority, almost 8 out of 10 new manufactured homes, are titled as personal property rather than real estate. When most people think of home ownership, they think of the fee simple transaction, of course, and that means that the home is titled as real estate. However, the vast majority of manufactured homes, regardless of where it ends up being sited, and most of them end up on private property, are being titled as personal property. And this varies from state law to state law and how difficult it is to title something as real estate, and that's something that public policymakers need to address. For example, the state of New Hampshire, all homes, regardless of type and land status, are titled as real estate, and that has made better loans possible for those homeowners, and that's really, really important. A couple years ago, back in 2014, the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, issued a report noting that maybe as many as 60% of chattel loan borrowers could have qualified for a mortgage, but didn't. That figure is probably not quite that high, but as Stacy noted, it's important that home buyers understand that they may be eligible for a mortgage rather than a chattel loan, which will reduce their monthly housing costs and give them a better loan product and better consumer protections. Right now, that is not a requirement. When retailers talk to a family who are considering buying a manufactured home, we believe it should be. And finally, as I noted, we run the Home Network, and you can see what it does. We talk about a path to home ownership and wealth creation for manufactured homeowners, which includes a whole range of policy ideas, loan product solutions, piloting, partnerships, and communication strategies. There's information there on the bottom of the screen on how you can join us, or you can shoot me a note if you're interested. We'd love to have you and love to talk further about this. And again, I want to thank everyone for having me on this webinar. And again, everybody feel free to reach out. You can contact me by that email. Thank you again very much.
Okay,
and
so we'll have yes.
I'm sorry,
we'll
I should have
Shelley
said, hand
now.
this off back to you guys. Yeah.
So Shelley, you're on.
Okay, I'm waiting to see the slides move here.
All right, Shelley, you have controls. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, again, my name is Shelley Trent, and I work for Next Step as the training coordinator. And we're going to talk about the SmartMH program. It's a pilot with Freddie Mac and our partners, which seeks to help individuals and families who want to successfully finance, purchase, and own new energy-efficient manufactured homes, expanding opportunities for sustainable home ownership. And it's not working for me to switch the slides. So
I did give you controls. Try again?
You did?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Sorry about that. I had to push it several times. So the goal of our program is threefold. First, we want to create and implement a consumer education curriculum for buyers of manufactured homes through eHome America with the goal of expanding the population of prepared home buyers. Second, we want to work with nonprofit housing counseling agencies such as yourselves to provide prospective buyers guidance through the home buying process. And third, we want to expand the number of lenders that originate real property loans on Energy Star manufactured homes, allowing greater access to more lenders and fair housing products, or fair lending products. The Federal Housing Finance Agency, or FHFA, requires the government-sponsored enterprises, or GSEs, to expand the manufactured housing marketplace under duty to serve. Freddie Mac has contracted with Next Step to get prospective home buyers mortgage ready. To do this, we work with homeownership counselors and train them on integrating the manufactured housing discussion with the clients. Many counselors are not aware of factory-built housing as an option, so we educate them on nearly every aspect of choosing, buying, financing, and siting a home. We also partner with eHome America to offer home buyer education specific to manufactured housing. Data shows that there are 500,000 prospective home buyers each year for factory-built homes. And this slide says 200 to 300,000. And Stacy and I, when we were reviewing right before this program, we determined that that should have been 500,000. Oh, I'm having issues with this. There we go. In addition to working with homeownership counselors, we also provide training to lenders to convince them of the value of making loans on factory-built homes. We work with retailers to teach them how to send their prospective buyers who are not mortgage ready to our partners for financial education. Those buyers then come back to the retailer ready to purchase a home. As I already mentioned, we work with homeownership counselors to train them about our program, and we help nonprofit housing developers who may want to place manufactured homes in urban infill lots, which Stacy showed you earlier. The SmartMH program began in Kentucky in 2017, as Stacy mentioned, with our partner Frontier Housing. We have since expanded to North Carolina and Tennessee in 2018 and to Texas and Mississippi this year. On this map, you can see the states where we have programs. And as you may recall from Doug's presentation, these states have the highest number of factory-built home orders. So if you're a home buyer, here's the process you would go through with our program. The initial intake call with a certified housing specialist enrolls the home buyer in the program. The home buyer is then paired with a HUD certified counseling agency locally, and the home buyer completes the factory-built home buyer education course online through eHome America. And finally, the home buyer receives loan pre-approval and returns to the market as a ready home buyer. Next Step makes tools and resources available to home buyers, such as the online factory-built education course available in English and Spanish, and the pre-purchase counseling program. Our training program for homeownership counselors has 8 modules that cover the following topics. Determining which type of factory-built home is right for you or your client, deciding where to place a home, and as Doug mentioned, whether it's in a community or on privately owned land, how to secure financing, planning for the installation of the home, how to shop for a home, navigating the sales transaction, caring for the home after move-in, and getting help if needed. The training program usually takes about 6 hours for counselors to complete, and we can bring it to you on site for your staff. We are currently working on recording webinars for each of these modules to offer it as online training also. So let's take a look at more data. I know Doug provided us quite a bit, but this is some data that we have on first-time home buyers who are in our SmartMH pilot program, and this is just for the first few months of this year. You can see here that there are about 190 of our the people in our program who are first-time home buyers. And I know this looks kind of small, but you can see here that this graph represents household income for those in our pilot, and you can see most of our home buyers earn between $15,000 and $25,000 a year, and the second one is $25,000 to $35,000 a year. On this graph, you can see that most of our home buyers have a high school education or college or some college. There we go. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that. And on this chart, you can see the credit scores of home buyers in our pilot. The ones in purple and lavender are for scores between 501 and 590. And the dark teal color shows scores of 590 to 640. And the lighter turquoise color at the top is for scores of 641 to 690. In less than 2 weeks, on April 15th, Next Step and eHome America will roll out the factory-built homebuyer education to be available nationwide. It was previously available only to homebuyers in the SmartMH expansion states, and so now other homeownership counseling agencies may have access to it if your agency completes our training certification program. The program has very helpful tools such as the total cost of homeownership calculator and much more. So if your clients are interested in factory-built homes, please send them to our website at nextstepus.org, and we can help you get them enrolled. So if your organization's interested in becoming a Next Step member, let's talk about what that entails. Our members gain the following benefits from their membership in the Next Step SmartMH program. We will provide ongoing training for your staff and board about today's factory-built homes. As Stacy said, they're very different than what they've been in the past, and they're no longer, they shouldn't be called mobile homes or trailers. And some of your clients might even have that perception, and we need to help them change their perception. We'll provide educational materials for your clients that highlight the quality, affordability, and energy efficiency of manufactured homes. We'll provide an additional avenue to affordable homeownership for your clients who may not understand that there are options beyond site-built homes. And we'll highlight stories of successful homeownership that our clients have shared with us. On this map in blue, you'll see the top 10 states for factory-built housing. And Doug talked a little bit about these states earlier. In those states, there's a high need for counseling services to serve local home buyers. We are seeking counseling organizations that have the capacity to work statewide to share our program. Additional membership benefits include comprehensive member support services, including program orientation, ongoing training or as needed training, networking and technical assistance, relationship brokering with vetted industry partners and services such as lenders, advocacy, research, and policy to address the stigma and the myths of living in a factory-built home, revenue sharing on the factory-built home buyer education course through eHome America, toolkits, fact sheets, and educational resources that you can share with your clients, access to photos, videos, and research libraries for factory-built homes. And so we hope your organization will join the Next Step Network and collaborate with us on spreading the word about the value of factory-built housing. If your organization is interested in joining the Next Step Network, or if you'd just like more information about training for your counselors, please contact me, Shelley Trent, Training Coordinator at s.trent@nextstepus.org. You can also contact Stacy Epperson, who you heard from earlier. This is her email address as well, s.epperson@nextstepus.org. And Stacy, do you have any closing comments?
Thank you, and I think we're available to answer questions.
That's great. Thanks to all three of you for that great presentation. So, Melody, are there questions?
Yes. First question, I'll just say this to the group. What is the difference in cost between a manufactured and on-site built home?
The average cost, Doug showed that, but I would say it depends, right? But, side by side, if we take the California example in San Bernardino, it was 30% less. We see it ranging between 20 and 30% if you're having similar specifications on the homes.
Okay, thanks for that.
I'll comment quickly, Melody, that I did the math on Doug's information that he had on one of the slides, and the manufactured home is $50.42 per square foot on average, with the site-built home being $111.05 per square foot on average.
Okay, great. The next question was, someone missed what was illegal in Oregon. Could you just recover that for people's edification?
Yes, this is pertaining to zoning discrimination against manufactured housing. Some jurisdictions have put into their zoning no manufactured housing allowed, and California and Oregon prohibit that.
Okay. Have you looked into the impact of natural disasters on manufactured homes?
There is research on this and shows that there's a couple of things, right? If we're talking wind, standards have changed since Hurricane Andrew 94. The standards have increased, and we are not having the problems that we had prior to Hurricane Andrew because of the changes. And I'll just open it up to Doug and Shelley if any other comments.
Sure. Yeah, real quick. This is Doug. I mean, I do think there are legitimate concerns about safety and natural disasters for some of the the older homes. I mean, they're going to be much more vulnerable if they weren't built to the 76 and to later standards. So I think that's a concern. And sadly, that's often what you see in the news media when there's a hurricane or a tornado or wildfires. So there's that. Also, as Stacy noted, after Hurricane Andrew in Florida, Florida actually adopted changes to its installations for all homes, and that was eventually rolled out, and that has made the homes safer in that state. And it's important to note that something like Hurricane Michael that devastated the panhandle of Florida, very few structures survived that. And so it is, we are in a remarkable era of natural disasters, I think, and we have to do our best, but we also have to, help prepare homeowners and residents of all types to prepare for that. But the homes are much safer than they used to be, and they're built with the conditions of where they're going in mind.
And I'd like to add to that, too. This is Shelley. Actually have been doing some research because for the eHome America curriculum, we're adding a section on severe weather safety. And as Stacy and Doug both said, there have been a lot of upgrades for manufactured homes for severe weather. And it wasn't too long ago, and I want to say it was Mississippi or Alabama, that there was a tornado that came through, and the site-built homes were more heavily damaged in the same area than the manufactured homes because they've been built to such higher standards now. They are attached to the foundation in a different way. And then I've also seen a video of a manufactured home on a runway. I think it was in an Air Force base, and there's a plane next to it, and they're trying to see what damage they can do to the manufactured home, and it withstood the wind much better than a site-built home. So there's been lots of research done. There have been a lot of changes made to the way they're built to sustain or to, stand and be safe in the severe weather.
Okay.
And you can build them on a basement. I will add that as well. You can build them on a basement.
Thank you. This question is a follow-up question for the Oregon-California zoning response. Are you saying that Oregon and California allow zoning to prohibit manufactured housing, or are you saying that Oregon and California prohibit zoning code that would not allow manufactured housing?
Okay, so let me be clear. You can put manufactured housing in any jurisdiction in California, in Oregon. So you cannot have zoning that restricts it, if that's helpful.
That, I think that answers the question, if I asked it right. Another question from the same person. Do the cost, she said thank you, do the cost per square foot of $50.42 include delivery to the site and the necessary work once on the site so the homes can be occupied?
No, they don't.
Okay.
And that's why I think that's why it's important to know what Stacy said. The 30% delta between a site built and a manufactured home, that better reflects the conditions on the ground of the local market and the transportation, rather than the $50 versus $111, which is from the census.
Okay. Next question. What is the membership cost for Next Step for a nonprofit?
For a nonprofit counseling agency, it's $500.
Okay, great. Saying those are all the questions. Oh, wait, no. Is that per year?
One-time fee.
Actually, one-time fee, correct.
Yeah. One time. Okay, great. Those are all the questions.
Great.
Wonderful.
Okay, so I wanted to ask one quick question. I know we're over by a minute, but one very quick question. I wondered if one of you could just mention very quickly how well the style of the homes fit in with existing homes, particularly in urban neighborhoods, older urban neighborhoods especially.
So you can do this, right? Modular, you have a little bit more flexibility, but manufactured housing has come a long way. So I hope we showed examples today. It depends. You know, you can get very high-pitched roofs, right? You can get a different exteriors. Of course, you're adding some cost, but generally you can match any neighborhood, particularly with modular, but in most instances with manufactured housing too.
Okay, great.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. This is an excellent presentation. We're just going to quickly wind up here. Quick plug to, if you haven't joined NHRC, we're continuing to do the good work, and we've had a very good year here, and we really appreciate everybody's become a member, and the groups that are renewing right now has been really helpful. But you can obviously, we will continue doing the work that we do, and this helps support it. If you're a member, it's also the discount on the credit reports, and also housing counseling agencies get the special member emails that are around unusual funding opportunities that you may not have heard about in other times, sometimes media opportunities. All of that's part of it, but the main reason to join is really just to support the good work, and we want to support you, and it helps if you support us. So that's all great. And our next call will be in 2 weeks, which should be the 18th. And please plan on scheduling that and look for the announcement on what our guests will be and what our topics will be. And in the meantime, keep an eye out for more things you can do on the funding question. We really want to move this forward. Thanks. Bye, everybody.